Hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
Look at that handsome devil.
Oh, geez, I just got a haircut. The barbershop opened up last week, so I was able to squeeze in a haircut, get a nice shave. So, well, that's a little prickly now, but yeah, man, my hair was crazy all over the place, super long. It was about 3 months due of a haircut, so just in time, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, you don't look like you've aged a day, so that's great. And I've seen you last time I saw you in person was 9 years ago? Eight?
Yeah, yeah, dude, something like that. Dude, I think it was actually in 2010. Um, I could be wrong. 2010, 2011.
2011, because that's when I joined Olivet. It was in January, and I met you like the second day. So it was like January 12th or something like that.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, I tried the whole beard thing. Last year I grew out this kind of mammoth beard, and I realized it makes me look a little bit too old. Like way too old. So I was
Wasn't
like,
feeling it.
yeah, I was like, you know what? Let's just stick with the clean shave for now. I'll take the younger look because the men we serve, they're all like, oh well, if he looks young, then he must know how to take care of himself pretty well. This, that, and the other thing. So I'm like, okay, well, I should just kind of stick with the clean shave, young look, and so I appreciate that. I take that as a compliment. Probably when I was 18, I'd be like, oh man, okay, I feel like a baby face kid, but this is a
I
compliment now.
I still do. I interviewed a kid who was 24 the other day, and he thought I was the same age as him. So I was like,
Nice.
cool.
There
You
we
know,
go.
I went to a networking event 2 years ago, and they thought I was 18. So it just works for you, you know. You do what you can. And they're like, "Oh, you're 31. You should be much further in your life." I'm like, I know. That's kind of the problem.
Oh man. Now you can't even, man, you can't even. Oh man, it's crazy what'll happen, especially as you're starting wanting less. It's like, dude, what happens in 5 years, as long as you stick with it and don't give up on it, what happens in 5 years is like I feel like I've lived, you know, 30 years longer than I have
Mm.
with all the experiences and all the things that I've learned and everything in just the past 5 years. You're going to find that with wanting less, you're going to be so far ahead. You'll look back, you'll be like, here's where I was. Wow, I'm so far ahead, not just financially, but with your experiences and just, man, I've experienced a lot of awesome stuff in this life in only 5 years. So get ready, man, because that's all that's going on, for you right now. And I'm excited for you, man. I'm excited to be doing this podcast. It's gonna be really awesome.
Awesome. Well, I don't know if you knew this, but we're already recording, so that's a
Oh,
great
epic.
intro. Yeah.
Perfect.
See, you're being your authentic self, and then I tell
Perfect.
you recording. Hopefully, you don't change. So we'll see. We'll find out right now. So for listeners, viewers, the context: Joe and I met in college. Like I said, at first or second day, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
in Hill's dormitory, I believe it was
Uh-huh.
called, and became friends over the course of that first semester, I think. And even back then, Joe was really into fitness and whatnot. We had a lot in common, kind of like upbringing. We grew up probably hour and a half from each other, that sort of thing. And um, I was also into fitness as well, not as much as he was, but nonetheless learned a lot from him. Really, I remember some really powerful times and moments together. And when I was a little bit more deep into my faith and that sort of thing, I would say, like really times where we would pray and just kind of talk about really, really deep things that 21 and 22-year-olds experience. That you were 19, 20 at the time, I think.
Yeah, I was 20. Yep.
Yeah. So that's right. So um, at the time, we had plans to move into basically an on-campus apartment, which was like a big move for the school because it's like, I don't know, whatever. It was relatively strict compared to the real world that school was, and not relatively, it was. And we were all set, me, you, and Ben, and then you came up to us one day and said, "Hey, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to come live with you guys." And I was like, "No, what is it?" And basically correct me if I'm wrong, you had mentioned it's just like the financial situation wasn't there. You just didn't have the backing that you were planning on, and you didn't want to move forward into something that you weren't feeling particularly passionate about at the time,
Yeah.
or you didn't feel right about at the time and spending all that money on. So you kind of dipped at that point and started your own thing. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah. So and this might sound actually kind of selfish, but so my parents had an education fund, obviously for myself and my brothers. And I decided to go to Olivet. It's expensive private school for the people who don't know about Olivet. It is one of
ridiculous.
those, yeah, ridiculous. I forgot how much the tuition was, but I think it was kind of etching around maybe the 25,000 a year mark, maybe
Mine was
even
like
more.
36, I think, if
Oh,
my
okay.
first year.
Maybe a bit more than I remember. It's 10 years ago, man. 10 years ago. Because you
Mm.
said yeah, I was 20 when we met. I'm 30 now. So 10 years ago. And my parents were like, look, I don't think we'll be able to afford this, sending you to another semester. You're going to have to take out student loans.
Mm.
And when my parents said that, I was like, well, I just don't feel comfortable going back to school then. And that sounds kind of selfish and almost like maybe a slap in the face to my parents, because now we've gone through this education fund, my brothers and we've gone through this fund, and I don't even have a degree. I've
Yeah.
basically used this money that they've wisely saved up for their kids, and I've used this money, and now that it's gone, I'm going to go a different path. Now, at the time, I was a personal trainer. If there are any aspiring personal trainers listening to this, do not get a 4-year degree when you can become a personal trainer in 2 months with an online certification. I always, tense up. I listen to a lot of Dave Ramsey, so obviously I'm a huge fan of what you do with Wanting Less.
Mm.
And sometimes I hear these calls, and they are guys who are going into personal training, and they're going into hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to get that, when it can really only cost about $1,000.
Mm.
So anyway, so I was already a personal trainer, and I felt like, for me, my faith is still a huge part of my life. And so for me, that was, and I hope it's okay if I talk about my faith,
Of
because for
course.
me, my business and my faith are they're almost too like connected,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. And so, and not just my business, but just my life in general, obviously, because it's a big part of my life since I was 10 years old. But I felt in my gut that, hey, this is not supposed to be the direction for you. So I was going to Olivet to become a doctor in nutrition. So I want to get my doctorate in nutrition. So it wasn't just going to be Olivet. It was going to be then the master's program that I was going to have to go. It was the continuing education, all of that. And
Mm.
I felt like, you know what? College is not, I don't think this is going to be for me. I don't think this is going to be the thing that I need to get me to wherever it is that I'm going to be going. And at the time, I didn't really know where that was. I was just a 20-year-old guy just going to school because that's kind of the thing to
What you
do.
do. Yeah.
Um, I think now people are becoming a little bit more aware that, hey, there's a lot of other options, but, back 10 years ago or whatever, you just go to college and figure it out.
I
And
would even add to that and say that it's still even more of a thing right now in certain. I mean, I'm in the Northeast, and this is Ivy League country right here. Like, this is what it. I mean, there's Harvard and Yale, kind of like basically it's equidistant from me. NYU, whatever. It's everywhere around us. So, I don't know. Remember the woman's name who played Aunt Becky in Full House, but that whole story of her,
Mhm.
like, cutting corners and paying off like
Yep.
the people to get into the college. And it's like, that really, I think, exposed a lot of the insanity behind the hype behind getting into college or prestigious college or just the experience in general, and broke the spell on a lot of people. But I think also it exposed how insane people are, not just for themselves, but for their children or
Yeah.
grandchildren or whoever it may be. So you went from you went from plans to get your PhD in this field, which I am certain in the health field would have been even more expensive, significantly more expensive than perhaps another field of, you know, English or, you know, whatever, even physics, I would imagine as well,
Mhm.
which is remarkable. So you went from that to 1.5 year in, something like that. And basically you said, I'm going a different route. I'm going to bet on me here. And just
Mhm.
to give context to people, I wanted to kind of like explain who you are. I probably will do a little teaser at the front here. You are the owner of a company called Live Anabolic. It's an online training supplement company. The supplement is coming out slowly but surely, but you're growing that part of the business as well. But the business itself, my understanding, is geared for men over 40 years old.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly it. And the reason that the kind of inspiration behind that business was actually me wanting to help my dad get into shape. So back when you and I met, I was very big into the whole natural bodybuilding competitive thing. And so fitness was my life, right? And I really wanted it to be a part of my dad's life. Is crazy, it sounds kind of wrong saying it like that, but I really wanted my dad. At the time, he was um, he's kind of a short guy. He's built like a bear. But if you look at his his BMI, his body mass index, um, the doctors would say that he's obese, by the height to weight ratio and all that stuff. And so I knew it wasn't the healthiest. He's had a blood clot in his life that was pretty severe. And so I just wanted him to get healthy, and I was never able to crack the code with him. um, but I had that passion of helping men, helping fathers, helping guys who were 40, 50, 60, get into shape, and just reclaim their life, and have a new lease on life. um, Thankfully, what's really cool is my dad has actually, he made the decision for himself that he was going to start getting back in shape. And last time he came to visit me, he lives in Illinois still. I now live in Alabama. But when he came to visit about 3 months ago, he was literally half the man that I remember.
Wow.
That's how much weight he's lost. And he doesn't do much. He walks, and then once he got to the point of, after doing his walking, losing so much weight, I was like, Dad, hey, maybe you should try hitting the gym now and pushing the weights a little bit. um, and he started doing that. He has started taking our supplements, which have been a huge help. But he has not, to this day, I still have not written him a workout program or anything like that. He made it a commitment to himself. And so, yeah, so that's where the business is at now. It's been, I mean, I started it uh, about 3 years ago, going on 4 years ago, and it's amazing to see what has happened over that time, the
Mm-hmm.
direction that my life could have taken, and the direction where it is now, which I'm so thankful that it is where it's at now.
Well, I think you're not doing your story justice here, which is, it's a really much more incredible story than that. I'm going to go into it a little bit more deeper just because I think everybody should know. Um, I, dude, so we talked about this on the phone before this, and and I'm laughing because people in the video can see that your mug says thank you, so it looked
Yeah.
like you were. Anyways, I said something nice, and he's like, hmm. Um, anyway, so this was circa 2014, right? Um, you were living in Texas at the time, I believe.
Mhm.
And I went from Verizon to a small, like, executive search firm that fired me after 4 weeks. They're local here, and they fired me after 4 weeks, basically saying like, we just don't feel like you're really passionate about this or into this. I was like, it's been 4 weeks, whatever. It was a whole thing. I got fired. It was extremely jarring for me. It was extremely very difficult situation, emotionally hard to wrap my head around. I was taking it very seriously, and I just didn't see it coming. It was one of those experiences. So I called you because you had I think you were kind of dabbling online with like an online training program, and you were starting your Heavenly Boot Camp or
Yeah,
Heavenly
yeah.
Bodies Boot Camp.
Heavenly Bodies Boot Camp.
Yeah, yeah, that has Christianity written all over it right there.
Yes.
It was so good. It was so fun. So this is again over 6 years ago. This happened. I
Mm.
call you up. I explain to you my situation. You're extremely empathetic. You listen to my whole story and kind of like offered me like opportunity to potentially get like a certification in personal training, become an employee, and that sort of thing. Fast forward, I was with my ex at the time. She was not ready to take that risk. Of course, I'm a dog chasing cars, and I was going to, but that was her thing. I get it. They had to pay the bills immediately, and I understand. So that happened. You, in the background, you're building this business. You got that up and running a little bit, yeah. The boot camps and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you that. Well, it went from let's go to that call and kind of where I was at. So at the time, I was working a job at a hospital, and my side hustle, so to speak, was Heavenly Bodies Boot Camp. Okay, and so this was an actual. This was not even a physical location. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I was actually training people in person, but I did not have a building. I was doing it outside. Okay, so it was an
Wow.
outdoor boot camp, and so in the back of my mind, the wheels are spinning. Like, okay, what's going to happen? When winter comes and all these different things, obviously. But my goal for Heavenly Bodies Boot Camp was to basically create a franchise type of a thing, type of a business where there would be all these different locations at churches throughout the country. So there would be,
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there would
Okay.
be, there would be, all these, I mean, there's, especially in Texas, there's a church around every street corner. Uh,
Sure.
so I'm thinking, well, if I can expand and build these locations and this and that, but I quickly realized, and I'm going to go kind of into where I think you're leading to in just a little bit. But I realized when I was doing Heavenly Bodies Boot Camp, because you may be thinking, well, what brought you online? Didn't you enjoy doing that whole thing? And no, I didn't. Um,
No,
I realized,
just
and a couple of things. One of those things is I realized that the female demographic is not necessarily uh, my best demographic. I don't quite speak their language
mm,
as well. People say I've always said that I'm very mature for my age, and I believe that that's true. I think that's why I related more so to the older demographic of men, as well as kind of that I guess that salt of the earth type thing where it's like, okay, he's like an older guy in a young, in a young person's body kind of a thing, where I connected more with that demographic. So
mm.
I did realize that, okay, well, one thing is I'm not as passionate about this demographic, and working with them. And two, I hate getting up. And this is something that folks listening to this who are thinking about, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to start my own business. uh, it is okay to throw yourself into something and do it. But I would not I'm so thankful I didn't buy a huge building and buy all this equipment and get all this overhead to the point where I was trapped in my own business. I
Yeah.
did enough where I realized I hate waking up at 4:30 to get to these clients at 5 o'clock, and then going home, coming back to the same location to help these clients at 9 o'clock. And then I would
Jeez.
actually go back home, and then I would drive to the hospital and I would work my 10-hour shift at the hospital for the day.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I will say that a big thing that I learned through that is I don't want to have a physical location. I don't want to go have to be somewhere and tied to an actual place, which is what got me into the whole online business, which I'll speak about in a little bit. But I believe one of the stories, I know you and I have spoken about this already, but I do want to share it because it is really important. Back when I was working in the hospital, as well as doing my personal training with the Heavenly Bodies Boot Camp, I had an opportunity for the hospital to pay for my schooling, right? So they said, okay, Joe, whatever you want to do within the hospital, if you want to be a ultrasound tech or an MRI tech, or you want to be an RN or whatever you want to be, we'll pay for your schooling 100%. So obviously my parents were all for that, idea. And I was like, okay, well, I really just want to, right at the time I was engaged, and I was like, I really just want to provide for my wife, like that's the most important thing to me. Yes, I want to build this business and whatnot, but I really, really want to, so this is before we were married, but I really want to provide for her, give her a stable life, and this is kind of why I hope that people who are listening can kind of pick up the fact that it's really important that you choose your relationships wisely, because I can tell you that if I did not have my wife by my side, um, then I don't know where I would be. Now, here's what happened. I told my wife, she was my fiance at the time. I told her, honey, I have an opportunity to go to school. It'll be all paid for. I'll be an MRI tech. We'll make X amount of dollars a year. It'll be more of a stable, secure thing. And she told me, she said, why would you want to do that? She said, don't you want to be an entrepreneur? Isn't that your calling? Isn't that what your passion is? And she was willing to walk the tightrope with me of this whole building a business thing and not necessarily having that security.
Mm-hmm.
She believed in me so much that she was willing to risk, that whole easy lifestyle, being married to an entrepreneur is hard. I don't think she knew it at the time, but we do not work from 9 to 5 and that's it.
Yeah.
It is, being an entrepreneur, it's a different ball game. It's a different breed of people. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're better than other people. It means that they're weirder than other people because I mean, there's just something about entrepreneurs. But anyway, I do want to stress the importance of finding a partner who is going to support you, because she has supported me through this entire journey. And it started there, because if she would have said, great, go back to school, do this MRI thing, I would have done it, man. And
Mm.
I would not have been fulfilled. I would have been happy because I'm very happy with my wife and our family, but I wouldn't have been fulfilled deep down inside, and there'd probably be a lot of regret with that.
Yeah. More to come, folks, on this in this story. I tell you what.
Oh,
So
there's dude, there's so much you don't even know that has happened. Well, I'm sure we'll get to.
yeah, yeah. So I guess the overall theme of the episode, if you guys haven't picked it up already, is like kind of finding your why, what what it takes, the risks that are involved, the ways that are best to go about it. And Joe is a prime example of basically stumbling his way, with the best of intentions, but I would say stumbling his way to where he is today, which is in a really good position. And just to give an insight into that, I mean, you've got a fairly successful, I would say, from my vantage point, online business going. I think on YouTube you've got 165,000 followers or something like that. I mean, that's no small feat. That's something really remarkable. I'm a part of the Facebook group page. I mean, it's very engaging. The guys are very passionate. The programs seem to be like fine-tuned for them. A lot of content coming into my inbox just to see and learn from your business associates and the folks that you have kind of pumping out this content. I'm using it not so much because I'm a 40-year-old man. I'm not, but nonetheless, I'm learning from the content you guys are putting out, what works, what doesn't, what catches my eye, and learning the tricks of the trade. So we're having two themes here. One is, I guess, finding what it is that you want to do and how to really get after that, but also how to get after it with a budget, I think, is a big part of it. That's a big theme, is making this happen to where it's not a burden on you from a financial standpoint, doing it the right way. And then everything else that kind of comes along with that. So
Yeah.
we are back to, this is 3-4 years ago, as you're kind of realizing, I hate Heavenly Bodies boot camp. This is not feasible for the long term. It was a good idea, but I see why it's not going to work long term, etc. You had this opportunity to go to school for free, do something you're not passionate about, but it would have paid the bills. Your fiance at the time, but wife now, and mother of your lovely son. He's adorable. He's absolutely adorable. She basically says, no, what is wrong with you? Get after what you care about, dummy. Like, hello, wake up. And you're like, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Let's do this. And I'm sure it wasn't that simple. I'm sure there's a lot of, thought and processing and praying about it and that sort of thing. So that is kind of another turning point after like the previous situations that you were at. And I think this is 2016, 2017.
Yeah, you're good at the timelines.
It's cool. I like the narration. I like seeing how it all works. And I think it's important for listeners and viewers to see how long this really takes and what it takes. In addition to that, so you've got this idea, right? You're working in Texas at the time.
Well, in 2016, we then moved to Alabama. So we're in Alabama. So
what was the decision for Alabama? Like what was, like, geographically speaking, what was that about?
Let me tell you this. So obviously I will let you know, I worked the boot camp to the point where it replaced my income at the hospital. So it got to that point. And, I was like, okay, this is great. So now what I was doing is I was working, I was doing my fitness boot camp stuff during the day and then trying to build an online business, like trying to learn, figure out how to build an online business in my extra hours. So now, and that might be kind of a key for folks listening. If you do have a job, I never recommend anyone, and this is something we can talk about later when it comes to building a business on a budget. I never recommend anyone to burn the ships, to quit their job and to start a business. And I'll share more on that a little bit later, but I just want to kind of not lose thought of where I'm going here. So with, I was working full time now at my Heavenly Bodies boot camp, and my wife was like, Joe, I feel like we're supposed to move to Alabama. Now her mom lives in Alabama. Okay. So I'm thinking, honey, we have our boot camp here. Now my wife, she also worked at the hospital. So when we got married, they were nice enough to bring her on board too, which was actually fantastic. I loved it. Yeah, it was really cool. And we got hooked up with all the perks, man. Let me tell you, there was just some favor in that place. But I will say that
I think the listeners and viewers would like to know what you mean by that, by favors and hookups at the hospital.
Oh, okay. Well, that's it. That's not where
I don't know what he's talking about at all.
Okay, that's not where I was going. What I was saying is I had a lot of favor with the bosses there, to where they would basically let me, have all these days off and allowed my wife to come work with me, same hours. They made it super easy. But anyway, she was working at the hospital now, and now I was doing my boot camp thing. And she says, I think we're supposed to move to Alabama. I'm praying about it. I feel like God's telling us to move to Alabama. And me, I'm like, honey, we have this boot camp here. I have my twin brother. You've met my twin brother.
Yeah.
I have my twin brother. He was living in Texas too, because we moved down there together.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Yeah,
we moved down there together. And funny enough, Teddy, it was after I got fired from a job. So those firing open up doors. It's not, sometimes it's not a slam in the face. It's just, okay, this happened and now there's another, this had to shut so another door can open.
Mm.
And let me tell you, if I still had that job in Illinois, I would not have moved to Texas. But that's where I met my wife. And, so anyway, tons of great things happened from that move. But I will say that I told my wife with the whole Alabama thing, I was like, honey, we have this business. I'm trying to ramp it up. And if you've ever driven through like the small town of Alabama where I was at, what I saw was a lot, and this was before we moved there, what I saw was a lot of closed down buildings, a lot of empty businesses. I did not see opportunity. Okay. And so I
Yeah.
was like, honey, I remember we were sitting in a parking lot and she was crying in the parking lot. We were in Alabama and she was crying in this vacant building in front of us. And I'm like, this is my point right here. Like there's not a lot going on here. Because she felt so strongly about moving there. And I'm like, and my twin brother lives in Texas. He was single at the time. He's now married, but I'm like, he lives in Texas. If I leave, like his best friend is gone. He has no one. He's going to be, just, I mean, who's he going to hang out with? Yeah, he has some friends, but obviously no one closer than a brother. Right.
Mm.
Um, and so what happened next was crazy. Within the next 2 months, I lost 50% of my boot camp members. Okay. And my brother started dating a girl. And so it was almost like God taking those two excuses, those two strings that attached me to Texas, cut them, and now I can go move to Alabama. Because now I was like, okay, my attention has been grabbed. Okay, I think that there's something here, and I do. While it was a sucky situation, losing those clients, and I was in kind of panic mode, such panic mode that I called the hospital and was asking them for my job back after I left. Um, but I felt like, okay, well, I think this is what we're supposed to do. And the Lord has made it clear to me with those things and just feeling peace after praying about it more. And so we moved, man. We moved, and guess where we lived? Guess where we lived for almost a year. And this is where 3 years ago, if we're going back to a call that we had 3 years ago, I remember exactly where I was sitting 3 or 4 years ago, 2016, exactly where I was sitting. It was we were in my mother-in-law's 600 square foot home. My wife and I have moved
Oh
in
my
there,
God.
about the size of a trailer. So imagine this newlywed couple and this husband who has promised his wife all these great things, now shacking up in her mom's home. And I was sitting in our bedroom, which was, I mean, it was this, it was a very tiny room. Everything was crunched in there. I mean, we moved all of our stuff. We were just crunched in this little room. And I remember being on this little wheelie chair with this wooden desk and sitting on the phone with you. And we were talking. That was when we were talking in 2016. And I remember telling you, you actually called me. And I think it's cool because what you said, Joe, I have 10 hours a week that I can get, that I have, and I can invest into something, and I want to invest it in you. Like whatever you're doing, I want to see how I can help. I have an extra 10 hours a week. That stunned me, to be honest with you. And it was so awesome. And I was like, Teddy, I'm trying to build an online business right now. And I was kind of explaining it a little bit to you, but guess what I was doing during the day, man, from 6:30 till 2:30, I was working as a customer service call center rep for Walgreens, and getting cursed out at, like, taking 100 calls a day. No joke. I was really fast on the phone, dude. But I mean, like 100 calls a day.
That's a lot.
And, but I am absolutely not excited about that. It was a horrible experience. And imagine an entrepreneur who has something burning inside of him,
Yeah, yeah.
and I have to freaking wake up, take these phone calls for 8 hours a day, and then come home and I'd work 8 more hours on my online business. Um, so that's where we're at now. If there's anything brewing in you right now, let's go ahead and catch up. But that's where I'm at that's where I'm at that moment in 2016. And yeah, man, it was just, tons of amazing stuff happened since then, which we can talk about for sure. But that's where I'm at the moment.
So yeah, I obviously, if it's important to reflect on that moment there for a second before moving on. I think people are very more interested in getting to where you are today and kind of
Yeah.
like that sort of thing. But oh my gosh, the trust you have to have not only in like yourself, but in the market,
Mm-hmm.
in your family dynamic and what you're trying to build, that you made the right decision, your in-law, like that you are going to be able to like, I look, I don't like living with people. I can't imagine how you went through that. I can't imagine, especially when you are working in a job that you hate and then you are coming home to work 8 hours. I mean, I wish I had that diligence to put in that much time after this job as well. I probably do, but I just, 8 hours is unbelievable. And the humility it takes to realize, you know what, I am not above this
Mm-hmm.
grind. I am not above the work that it is going to take. And I know that whatever it's going to be, I have this vision, but it's probably going to be something else, is absolutely worth it. That to me alone is probably the most remarkable thing to fathom, and that's what I go through on a day-to-day basis here as well, because I'm still in the stages of figuring out where exactly I want this to go. You were extremely instrumental in helping me out with just kind of like getting a vision for where this is going to go. What are my buyers going to be? Ways in which to create platforms for people to engage, et cetera, et cetera. Just like little tactical, logistical moves, as well as big picture, as well as like 50,000 foot view. Since then, my cousin, who I've been spoken with we were kids. We were kids. Turns out she works at GoDaddy. She
Wow.
probably, yeah, she's listening. I'm sure she's probably listening to this once I play it live. But she works at GoDaddy, and I use a different platform right now. But we're talking about different ways to optimize SEO and just kind of things to think about. And she literally coaches people on how to create online businesses and marketing plans, like I'm trying to do. So it's kind of like you create your own look, the more work you put into it and that sort of thing. I will be honest with you though. When you said, so you told me about me calling you, and I remember calling you. I don't
Yeah.
remember the details of the conversation. I remember saying like, just kind of like, man, I need more. Like I need something else, in my life right now and that sort of thing. And I remember the position I was in when it was happening. And I had no idea it had such an effect on you at the time, to think like, like, wow, what a nice thing to do, or whatever it would be. It's just a call that I made. I don't remember it very much at all. And the fact that it stood out is wonderful. So I'm
Yeah.
glad we can come full circle on that. So
Yeah.
2017, you are trying to build this business. Did you know it was going to be what it is today?
No. Obviously you have the vision, right? So you have the belief. Um, I received a lot of crazy confirmations. Like I told you, earlier about just the spiritual side of things for me. A lot of things were happening that kept me going. When it felt like I kept hitting a brick wall, that kept me doing all right, just keep going with this because it's going to happen. Um, you know, my brother would call me. He'd be like, "Hey, dude, so did you get any sales or in the business this week?" And I'm like, "No, but I got this cool confirmation that, I would be making X amount of dollars by, this age, or just these weird stuff, like not weird, just supernatural cool things that the Lord was doing for me just in having that relationship with him.
Mhm.
And let me just say that all the things that he said would happen have happened. And so all the things that I know are that have also been said that will also happen, as long as I keep following where he's leading me. And again, I don't want to, over spiritualize things, because some people may understand that, some people may not, but it is, a part of my journey as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Um, but I will say that, okay, Teddy, so from the time we had that call till now, um, we've had over 50,000 customers. Um,
Jeez.
and so it's been, and not just one-time buyers. These guys are repeat buyers because we put out a lot of great products, to the point where if anyone watching here was to go to liveanabolic.com, they would not see my face, because I realized my strength is behind the scenes. I'm a 30-year-old guy. What does a 30-year-old guy have to do with leading men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s? Like, I'm a 30-year-old guy who's, I've been married for coming up on 6 years. I have a son who's eight just turned 8 months. But what do I have to offer for a man who has had so much life experience? And that is why when you go to my website, you're not going to see me. You're going to see the awesome team that I have. You're going to see Gary. You're going to see Mark. These are two faces of the company. These are men who are equipped with the knowledge and also just that inspiration. If you just look at them, if you go to the website liveanabolic.com, you will see, okay, these guys are the real deal. I mean, they look great. They're very good communicators, and so you won't even see me in the business. And what I love about that is I don't have to be in front of the camera. I don't have to be doing that anymore. Instead, I run the business now from a much higher level,
Hmm.
instead of being caught in the little mundane things of content and this and that. Although that's great, and one day I do plan on being the face of a different brand that is not fitness related, more of a personal brand type thing.
Hmm.
But that's not for me right now. That's on the shelf. I don't even think about that during the day. I think about right now with my team and with Live Anabolic and how can we impact more lives. So yeah, to give you just that little snippet, because you haven't even asked me, of numbers and things like that, of where the business is at. And so I'm sure there's a little bit of an itch to just to know, okay, well, I'm bringing Joe on, but where really is he at? And so, yeah, so we have had over 50,000 customers. These guys are all just amazing. And what's amazing is the business has continued to grow literally month after month since starting. And so we feel very fortunate. Thankfully, through all this COVID-19 and stuff like that, our business has only grown. It has only increased even more. So
I was going to ask you that. I would imagine that there potentially would be a multiplier of growth right now, like perhaps a higher percentage of growth the last few months, because if they're feeling like I'm feeling, it's like I've got to find an alternative in some
Mhm.
way, shape, or form. I can't just sit home and be still. Like it drives me nuts.
Yep. Yeah, it has. I mean, because we have at-home workout programs. And so a lot of those, those have really been increasing in terms of sales and things like that. But what we're really excited about right now as well are the supplements that we've started as, our supplement line this year. And that has just been amazing to see the growth of that so quickly. It goes to show it. And I say that because I want to encourage you and I want to encourage other entrepreneurs who are listening, that when you start your business, there is going to be a grind phase that very few people will
Mm-hmm.
make it out of. And I will tell you though, and I remember telling you this, Teddy. Think, imagine you're at the bottom of a hill and you're pushing a snowball up a mountain. It starts off small. It's all great. Oh, I just bought my website. Okay, cool. I bought, I created my Facebook group. Awesome. but as you're doing these things, that snowball is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna, then you get to a point where like, dang, this is a big freaking snowball, and you're trying to push it uphill. Okay. And you're going to get to and this is wherever, a lot of people quit. I mean, I'm telling you, man, so many people have given up on their dreams because it's hard. Man, that's funny when you kind of hear that people give up on their dreams because it's hard. I mean, are you kidding me? Right? I mean, going to work and to a job that you hate, that is freaking hard. Like and this is something that when we get into, because I do want to talk about some tactics about how to build a budget, how to build a budget, how to build a business on a budget.
On a budget. There you go. It's a mouthful.
So I do want to get into that content in a little bit, but going back to that analogy, it's going to feel like you're in a grind phase and you're pushing this snowball up a hill, but then eventually it gets to the peak of the hill and you can push that snowball down and it only gets bigger and it moves faster. And that was what we saw with our supplements. We've spent the past few years building all of our online products and stuff like that, building our customer base. And then we added this other arm to the business, which is something that I feel most proud of right now of the business, right now, that arm to the business. And it has picked up momentum. It's like that snowball going downhill. So all to say that you're going to, anyone who's watching this and listening to it, you're going to be in a grind phase if you're just starting off your business. And then eventually you're going to get to a really awesome place where you can add different things to your business. And man, it picks up steam like crazy fast. So I guess it's just an encouraging, kind of a light at the end of the tunnel type thing for those who are trying to build a business right now.
Yeah. So I let's jump right into that part of like building your business on a budget. And we already touched on the basic concepts of, one of the big tactical moves of, hey, let's make sure that you're working with some sort of supplemental income that is steady as an employee and, use that so that your new business is not a burden. Walk me through some things that you find most helpful or found most helpful that I think we can think of in a bullet point style and kind of like some memorable things that have worked for you and would work for some others.
Okay. Well, the first one I'm going to touch on is one that I already mentioned very briefly earlier, but I think it's really important because we're talking about starting a business on a budget. We're not talking about the guy who's already left his job. We're talking about the person who is inspired to start something or is starting something right now, and they're still working a job. What I would say is, one, do not leave your job until it can replace the income that you currently have and that might sound almost like, wow, great tip, Joe. I mean, that makes common sense, but you know what? It actually doesn't make common sense for a lot of people. Common sense isn't so common, right? So there's that whole, the whole thing of an entrepreneur jumps out of a plane and builds another plane all the way down. There's that phrase of that, or like there's a whole,
I never heard that one.
Yeah, man. I read it on a meme or whatever they want to call it the other day on Facebook, and I'm like, I mean, no, it does. It doesn't have to be this life or death type of a thing, as well as the whole burn the ships mantra of, hey, just burn the ships, and what I say, if you're going to burn the ships and you're going to leave your job and you're just going to jump 2 feet into this whole entrepreneur thing of starting your business, even if you have, some savings, 6 months of savings or whatever, an emergency fund where you could do that for 6 months, don't do it. Because what you're really burning is you're burning cash flow that is going to feed your business in the beginning stages until it gets to a point where you can run your business and you can leave your job and you have that income coming in. Because people you won't realize until you're actually doing it, how quickly money will go
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about another thing in point number 2 here that I'll make in just a little bit about outsourcing and things like that. So we'll talk about that in just a second. Um, but people don't realize how much it actually takes to get something off the ground. They usually underestimate it. And so what happens, and especially if you're married and or you have a family or you have someone that you're looking to put a ring on her finger or whatever, and you're like, okay, I have just left my job and now I'm putting all of this time, effort, and money into this side thing that's not paying me right now. And when that happens, there's a lot of friction. And this is
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of entrepreneurs quit because there's so much friction where to the point where they're like, you know what, money's getting tight. I can't be putting more money into this. I just need to go back to a safe job, which is not really safe, as we saw with the whole COVID-19 thing.
Mm.
The job that you hate could be gone in a matter of seconds, and then you're stuck with nothing. When really, I feel like people who have a passion for if they don't like their job, find out what your passion is and start building your business now. Don't wait until someone has to kick you in the pants to, or just, throw you out, basically fire you from your job. And now, okay, now I think I'm going to build it, because you're not going to have the money to build it. Then you're not
Yeah.
going to have the security to build it. So I will say that the first thing is just don't burn the ships. And I will say that if you need to burn the ships to feel excited about your thing, your business that you want to build, I'm willing to say that you probably aren't that excited about it anyway.
Mm.
The hard thing to do, the thing that really is impressive, is going to a job that you hate for 8 hours, 5 days a week, and coming home and putting in another 5 to 8 hours working on your business. um that right there is someone who's serious,
Yeah.
who really wants, like, they love the thing that they do, that they want to do so much that they're willing to put in the after hours, man, or get up wicked early and get what they need to get done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say that would be point number 1 when it comes to building a business on a budget.
Don't burn the ships.
Don't burn the ships. Yeah. And, the next thing, I don't know, Teddy, you might not like this next one. Because here, let me get a swig of coffee here. Thank you, mug. All right.
Don't move to Connecticut.
Yeah. Why's that?
It's too expensive. That's what it is.
Okay. Okay.
No, it's lovely out here, but it's very expensive.
Well, that's another reason I love it here in Alabama. It is cheaper than cheap, man. Someone who comes from Illinois, and I thought moving to Texas, I was like, oh, Texas is cheap. Nope. Alabama, I mean, right now, favorite place to live. And it's not because, and we could maybe hit on this, maybe not, but it goes back to wanting less, right? And like for me, I don't want much. It allows me to really live at a certain level of means. And really where I'm at is, I want my wife to be happy and whatnot. So it's living to, I would probably be spending maybe 3/4 less than I spend now if I was single. Like I just
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of it is, like, I think a lot of folks, when they hear it, they think about like kind of a minimalist perspective, and in a way it is but the goal of it is not, to your point, it's not to simply live without for the sake of living without. It's not that. It's to live without certain things so you can have more of the things that you actually want. And the first step of that is actually identifying, this is what I want. And I think something we're kind of hovering around here is many of us just don't even get to that
yeah.
of, what do I care about? What do I heard the other day, don't ask people what they like, see how they spend their time.
Mm.
Right.
Yep.
and I agree with that. I also think it's somewhat of an incomplete statement in general, only for the sake of a lot of us spend our time doing things that fill our time or are kind of like a quick dopamine release or whatever it may be for the sake of feeling peace or joy or a quick reward in the moment because it feels nice. It feels nice, and desire and feeling nice, or whatever, is a part of this reality, but it can't be the only part of reality. We have to
Mhm.
have longevity in our sights. We have to have delayed gratification, etc. So that's what the whole mantra is here. Is I was living this way before, like putting things way ahead of myself, spending money on things, on buying things that I didn't have money for, um, you know, living a way that I had no business living, and pretending like I wasn't supposed to be where I was. And I thought, how silly of that.
Mm.
Of me to do something like that. I made it my very goal right then and there to choose just a handful of things that I was getting after, and as did you,
Yep.
to go after with a vengeance, with absolute certainty, even when I was made fun of, even when I was made fun of by the people that was closest to me, or like questioned by the people closest to me, because I bet on me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so thank you for segueing or bringing that up, because that, it's a nice plug for me, but that's also why I want you on. I want people like you on the show so that you can substantiate this claim that I kind of fell backwards into, to show that this is the reality we live in. We have to make a choice,
Yeah.
or else the choice is going to be made for us. And that's how you end up on your deathbed with a life full of, a mind full of regrets.
Hmm.
And that's, I will not have that in my life. I won't.
Yeah. I'm totally with you there, man. And a lot of it is also coming from a place of, um, for me, it's knowing who I am, right? Because when I know who I am, when I'm secure in who I am, I'm not looking to impress anyone. And that allows me to be in a place of wanting less. And really, it's a place I've been in for, I mean, for several years of just, there are very few things that I desire. Um, but a lot of them are just really great things to
Mm-hmm.
pursue. And it adds so much simplicity, but also just joy to my life because I know what I'm going after. I'm secure in who I am. And so I don't need to get a certain car to keep up with the Joneses and this and that and, do all these other things. I don't need a, a certain, anything flashy to show a certain success in business or whatnot, because that would be a place of insecurity. And so what I'm doing is, I'm wanting more things. I'm wanting, this. I'm wanting to, achieve this. I'm wanting to get that car. I'm wanting to get, and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way. This just not my, it's not my thing. Okay, it's not what gets me excited. Is the
Mm-hmm.
cars and the this and the that. It might get some people who are listening. They're thinking about the big houses and stuff like that. And I know that that's actually going to be a part of my life at some point when
Right.
it makes sense financially, and it's not, just doing it too early, man. What I love about you is you're playing the long game, and what's so funny about the long game is you call it the long game, but when you're 45, 50, even in your 40s, you're going to be in such a better position that it's almost going to feel like the short game. Like, hey, I committed these past 10 years to achieving these certain things. And now I can truly live like nobody else because they were playing the short game. They were
Right.
spending, living the life when they're in their 20s, 30s. No, I'm looking to live the life in my 40s and 50s and whatever, so I love what this show promotes because it promotes that long game in a way, and that it gets people focused on these very few things that if they just throw themselves at it, their whole self at it, they're going to achieve amazing things in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. So anyway, that's just a testament. I love the whole wanting less
Thanks, man.
mantra. Um, but I
Appreciate
will
it.
get into that. Yeah, man, I will get into that tip number two, that point number two on building a business on a budget. And I actually pulled this off the bookshelf right here for the sake of visual.
Nice. Tim
Um,
Ferriss.
but what you won't like about this, Teddy, is I will say, burn this book.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay. I'm intrigued. I thought you were going down one road and you just forked left. That's what
totally
happened.
went the other way. And I've read this book, and let me tell you, I'm a Tim Ferriss fan. And what is so funny about this book is I couldn't buy one back 6 years ago because I didn't have the money. And my wife was my wife was nannying. She wasn't my wife at the time. Oh, actually, she was my wife at the time. My wife was nannying, and her nanny, the family she was nannying for, the man in the relationship was a entrepreneur. And one day I came home from work. This was laying on the table. This is one of those confirmation things for me. It's more of a spiritual thing, because it was something I was just praying about, was just direction with where I'm supposed to go with my life. But I come home and this is sitting on the kitchen table. She says, "Oh, the person I work for, he's an entrepreneur, and he said that you might really like this book." And there it was, just sitting on the kitchen table. And so I love this book for a lot of reasons. The one reason I don't is because it was written in 2007. And so a lot of the things, now I love this whole idea of the 4-hour work week, but
Yeah.
let me tell you, it probably ain't going to happen. And for the folks who are entrepreneurs, who are aspiring entrepreneurs, you will realize very quickly that it would be very, very hard. And I'll say you're probably not passionate about what you're doing anyway, because like I said, entrepreneurs are kind of this weird breed where like they almost want to work and get yelled at by their wives when they work too much. So I will say that while this concept is absolutely amazing, and it does apply to not just entrepreneurs, but also to business professionals as well, there could be some cool gems in here. But when Tim Ferriss released this in 2007, the internet was a totally different ballgame, to the point where you can put up a website and you can get hundreds, if not thousands, if you know your SEO stuff, of sales a day. And I believe he talks about a supplement company that he was running.
Yeah.
And he was able to, a business like that, yeah, you can outsource that. His manufacturing and all that stuff was outsourced. When the internet is basically the Wild West, yeah, you can do what he did. I'm not saying easily. Obviously, Tim Ferriss is a beast, and he was able to make that happen for himself. But in 2020, you got to pay money to get a customer. You can't rely on SEO as much as back in 2007.
Interesting.
2020, Google has very much got their fingers in things. They control the algorithm. I know people's businesses who were broken off of one algorithm change by Google, and all that free traffic they were getting, it's gone. And now they have to put money into paid advertising and this and that. So I will say that now going to the point here, outsourcing is a great thing. It really is, if you have the money. Someone who is in a good sales position, something like that, like Teddy, you have a cool career where it's gonna pay you extra too. And I know you're hammering on your debt snowball and all that good stuff, which is fantastic. So then it comes to the place where, okay, I want to outsource things, but that is going to take money. And so there's going to be a lot of people who may not necessarily have the money. And even you may come to a place where it's like, look, I have two goals here. I'm trying to build my business. I'm trying to pay off this debt. And I need to get rid of this debt. Like that's like my number one for 2020 is to have no more debt. Mm-hmm. So instead of putting you're almost conflicted, right? Depending on how much the cost of certain things are that you would have to outsource. A huge thing for me, dude, I couldn't afford anything. And let me tell you, that was probably the best thing for me. Because I learned how to build websites. I learned how to write what's called sales copy, which is basically the words on the page. So you're a salesman, for your job. So think of a salesperson in print form. That's basically what sales copy is.
Okay.
So basically, it's the words that are on the page that get you to click the buy button or get you to sign up for the free ebook or all those things. It's the thing that cause you to, the words on the page that cause you to take action for something.
Okay.
Um, and if I had to hire that out to someone, it would have cost me thousands and thousands of dollars. Um, but what I found was because I had no money and I was building websites, for my products and writing the sales copy, people told me, Joe, you actually have a really good knack for writing this, writing sales copy. And for a lot of people, they may not know, they may still have a little bit of trouble putting the whole sales copy thing together. But think if you're on Amazon, now this is a very, very, very bland, this isn't even good sales copy, but say you go on Amazon and there's all these features about a product and then you're like, oh, wow, this product sounds awesome. I'm just going to, I've read all this stuff about the features about it. I think I'm going to buy it. That's basically like what the stuff that's written on there is kind of like what sales copy is. It's a bad version of it though, because it's not really that good. But anyway, if you go to my website, you'll see. If you look at like the products and stuff like that, you'll see what I mean. But anyway, I was able to learn skills instead of outsourcing that I see a lot of people do. And outsourcing again comes with the whole friction thing. Oh crap, I gotta hire a copywriter to write my sales copy. Oh geez. Okay. Then I gotta you're telling me I gotta hire someone to build the website now? Oh, I gotta hire someone to make the PDFs now? Oh, I got it. So you feel the friction of that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is where people quit. And the whole thing I'm trying to help people who are listening is I don't want you to quit. So, you got to get past that phase that 99% of people will not get past.
So you're, and one second, I'm just going to turn my light on here. It's dark in Connecticut, where there's just a lot of trees. We do have a lot of wilderness. I'll give them that. But so you're saying you're pro outsourcing for only the things that you can't learn, or only for the things that are within the budget and not worth your time, but be very selective with what you can learn. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Yeah, that's accurate. I want to encourage people that do the hard stuff. I mean, I went on, dude, I don't know how to build websites. You know what I did? I went on YouTube and I watched a tutorial, literally an hour and 30 minutes. And I would click the pause or click the play button, do what they did, hit the pause button, make sure it worked, hit the play button, do what they did, and so what I want to encourage people is that don't be afraid to do the hard work. I know Tim here would, he makes it sound so freaking fabulous to have a 4-hour work. But you know what? When you're starting off, I would say don't be afraid to try things that you haven't tried before. See if you have a knack for it, because it is going to save you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars down the road. I will say that because I found out that I had a knack for copywriting, and I eventually hired a copywriting coach just to kind of help me hone in that skill.
Yeah.
For the amount of websites and things that I've written, I probably would have had to spend at least $250,000 in copywriting to get that done.
Oh my God.
But I've done it myself because I have that skill set now, which I never would have known that I had if I wasn't trying to build this business on a shoestring budget. Okay.
Yeah.
So I will say that now there's going to be times when you're going to realize, look, I really suck at this. Okay. And if that's the case, then maybe your next plan of action is, okay, can I drive Lyft or Uber at night to pay for the guy that I have to hire.
Right.
Okay. It's just people aren't willing to do those things that require a lot more work. Don't get caught up again in that little snowball stage. It's when it starts getting bigger, that's when things get really tough and you're going to have to figure things out. And let me tell you, this has been the hardest thing, like the hardest journey that I've been on is building a business. But I am grateful for everything I've gone through and the fact that I've had kind of my own ups and downs, because I feel like I can then help other people who are starting off, who don't have a pile of cash to just throw at things and say, okay, let's set this thing on fire. Maybe your second or third business, you can do that, but not your first one.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with point 2. Before I get over to 3, which will be the last one, anything on that you wanted to touch on, Teddy, before I move on to 3?
Oh gosh, there were many things. I just the first thing that came to mind. We're both Dave Ramsey fans in general, but he tells this really powerful story about how he was so enamored by cars, and he still is. He loves cars. That's his thing. But I guess there was this car when he was a young entrepreneur, and he had a baby, and it was newly married. And there was this car he had to have, and he convinced his friend to co-sign for the car. Basically, the business went bankrupt. He couldn't pay for the car and had to give it away, and really soured the relationship with his friend, and so on and so forth. But what was so intriguing about that was it was really just a mindset. He basically had this passion, right? He had this drive. He had this and I think there's a lot of people listening right now that have this this thing that they can't control, and it's coming out in these ways that maybe are not constructive or might frankly piss people off, to be honest with you, even themselves. Might frustrate you, but there's something inside of you that's coming out, and it's kind of like it's kind of like Denzel Washington. I remember the Titans when he says, "You got anger, that's good, son. Use that anger." It's like that sort of thing. He's like, harness it for a controlled whatever, and that's kind of how I've always felt. So if you're listening to this and you're feeling like, wow, this really kind of describes like what's going on in my head, in my heart. Who knows what it is? It could be, an art business. It could be an online business. It could be an actual like mom and pop shop of some sort. Who knows? We don't know. It might even be, you might even be very passionate about climbing some particular ladder or organizational chart within the organization you are in, and you see a pathway for that. And if that's the case, and you are dissatisfied or angry right now at yourself or where you are, it is probably because you are not chasing after what you're capable of chasing after. And you're describing those points of, it's hard. Like, it's really difficult. It's really difficult. And Dave Ramsey really wanted that car, but he changed his gears. He did it right. He created a methodology, and now he's able to pay for as many freaking cars as he wants. Cash money, honey. And that's what the folks that are listening to this, what me and you can do if we commit to something like this for, like you said, the long game, which is kind of a funny term because I like how you put that. It's actually, in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that long.
Yeah.
If you harness in on this for 5, 10, 15 years, which will be 45, mid 40s, could you imagine having the ability to walk away from all this and say, I never want to or have to work again because I put in the work. And by the way, I put in the work doing something that I really freaking enjoyed, and I'm really proud of myself every step of the way.
Absolutely.
That's pride, man. That is beautiful. That is something that taps into our spirit at the core, that, again, if it's unearthed, if it's brewing and you don't know how to harness it and you don't know what it is, the very first step is finding out what that is, making a plan, and staying the course.
Yeah.
That's a preview into the 3 sections of my book that I'm going to come out with years from now. I already
love it.
But anyways, so we're through 2 steps. The first step is don't burn the ship or jump out of the airplane with plans of building a new one on the way down.
Yeah.
That's a funny
Horrible.
one. And only outsource the things you absolutely have to or have no other option to do so.
Mhm.
Otherwise, trust yourself to be able to learn a new skill,
Yep.
to build your business on a shoestring budget.
Yep. Absolutely.
Cool.
That nailed it there. Now the last one is it's going to sound counterintuitive to the second point because it's about hiring a coach, hiring someone. And I have no business coaching services, by the way. So anyone who's listened to the podcast and thinks, oh, well, this is where he pitches his coaching program and all that jazz, like I'm out of here. No, actually, I don't have any of that. But I am a product of having hired coaches who have done what I wanted to do and have done it successfully for years. They have a very good track record, and putting in the money, putting in that, taking that risk, and hiring that person to coach you because it's going to give you speed. It's going to give you speed of results. You can try and
Hmm.
figure everything out on your own. You can absolutely do that. It's going to be a longer and bumpier road. I will tell you that. I am so I'll tell you the first time. How about a story about the first time I invested in a coach, which paid off huge. But here I was. It was on Christmas Eve, okay, and I am laying in this tiny little bed in that 600 square foot home with with my wife, and I'm just sitting there. We're just talking. And I'm like, and I'm actually writing down a prayer because I feel like I should be hiring this one guy as a coach, right? I should be hiring this one. He's a fitness guy. His name is Vince Del Monte. He has he did a bunch of fitness YouTube stuff back in the day. Very successful, multi seven figure ebook businesses and stuff like that. He's been around the game for 10 years, and so I was like, oh, you know what? I think I'm supposed to hire this guy as a coach. Um, Now, at the time, we had been saving up a little bit of money working at this call center. By the way, when we moved from Texas to Alabama, everything in our savings gone. Okay, we already didn't have a lot of money, but that move and paying for the U-Haul and all this other stuff, that getting out of our rent or our lease early and all this stuff, the fees there, we were out of money. Um, Saved up a couple $1,000s. My wife really wanted to move out, obviously. I mean, I did too. But anyway, I kind of wrote down a prayer because I was scared. I was like, I don't know if I should be investing this money into this coach, but I feel like I need a coach to learn this online business stuff more and get to where I want to go. Um, and I told my wife that the very next, I mean, 10 seconds later, man, I pick up this book. I open up this book. It's called Visioneering, and I would recommend that you read it. There is a faith-based element to it, but I would say it's very on the watered down side as far as like anyone can read it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, I flipped open the page and it said, if you truly believe in the plans that God has for your life, then there's going to come a point where you're going to have to invest in a certain amount of money without any expectation of getting that money back. And so I was like, okay, that's all I need. I'm going to hire this guy. And I told my wife, and she was so kind because she wants to move out so bad. She would tell me every day, like, we need to move out. So imagine the stress that I'm feeling just from that alone. But the fact that she was able to put all of that aside and say, you know what, Joe, I believe in you, and these things that have been put on your heart for you to do, that okay, take whatever's left in our savings and spend it on this coach.
Wow.
And yeah, and I did, and it was a 2-day event. It was $2,000. um and that event, kickstarted a lot of things, kind of sped up, showed me how this whole building an online fitness business really works and what I have to do. And it gave me so much speed of results. So to kind of give you I went to the event in January, released my first product, bombed. Okay. Again, this goes back to being resilient and having grit. And a lot of people do not have it. And so if you can be the one who says, man, I just hit a brick wall again, and you can keep going, dude, you are set apart. You're cut from the cloth of someone who will be successful because you're not willing to give up. I've never met anyone who has not been successful in their life after continuing their path so much. They just keep going and going and going. I've never heard of someone who has just went their whole life trying to do something that they really believed in and never reached it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, man. I mean, it really, want to be successful, don't quit. I mean, it's a simple math formula. It's
Well,
1+1 is 2.
have you watched The Last Dance with the ESPN show about the
Yes,
90s
of
Bulls?
course. Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. So there's a scene, I posted on Instagram about it, but basically there's a scene where MJ is talking about how a lot of his teammates thought he was like basically like a bully, like abusive to them. And, I mean, he talks about like punching Steve Kerr in the face and they got to a fight, and like he was intense. He was very intense. But I'm telling you, man, like ever since I saw this scene, it's like burned into my brain. But he's explaining his situation, the reason why he felt so passionately. And I remember him saying something to the effect of, if you're not willing to come out and give everything that you have, like I am, then why are you there?
Yeah.
All I was doing was holding people accountable to the same level of intensity that I was playing. I'm not expecting them to be as good as I am or whatever it is, but I'm expecting them to put in as much work as I am.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying that, and then like also kind of being hurt by the thought, like he's a jerk, like he's this mega champion, best player, the GOAT, right? But he's also like a jerk. And I remember him tearing up and saying, I need a break, and like it going to commercial. And to me, I was talking to my buddy about this. I was like, that hit me so hard in the gut, man. Just feeling like he cared so much about one thing, and that was winning at any cost.
Yeah.
That he basically treated his teammates as terrible or good or whatever. He didn't care. He did whatever he had to do to hurt their feelings, to make them move, to make them win. And that was his only goal. Whether you think it's right, wrong, or indifferent, and don't get me wrong, MJ, in a lot of ways, I heard as a jerk on and off the court, but man, is he a winner.
Yeah.
That passion was palpable, and I just thought it was so powerful. So I was texting my buddy about this, and he's a comedian around here, and he is very passionate about what he does. He's very good at what he does, and sees a big future for himself. As do I for him. And he was saying after I posted, he's like, man, that was like my moment, like on that show. Like I knew exactly what he felt in that moment. I knew exactly what he was expressing and why he got teared up in that moment. And I felt that lump in my throat as well. I was just like, man, that is just beautiful. But yeah. I digress. That was what came to mind when you mentioned that point.
Well, that was my favorite scene in that whole series. It gave me chills because he couldn't even contain himself. The passion is so much there that he's talked about so much throughout that whole documentary. Even his dad passing away, and I don't think I saw him get choked up
right
until that scene. At least the way where he's cutting off the cameras and just taking a break, and it just goes to show his passion for what he was doing, and that's what it takes for whatever you're building. He was building something great. And I would say that all of us are trying to build something great. You're trying to build something great with wanting less. I would say that people don't go into something to build it mediocre. If I mean,
Yeah.
if you do, I mean, if you do, the sustainability that you're going to have is going to be. You probably won't have the stamina to keep going. So it was, yeah, that was great. And so, yeah, I mean, where I was at, just where, we left off, where I told you that the first product I released um, flopped, right?
Mm.
Um, so here I am. I invested all this money. I literally come home from work and I sit in this old chair while my wife and her mom are just moving about and talking and this, and I almost don't even hear anything, man. I'm in tunnel vision for 8 hours, almost feeling bad. uh well, yeah, feeling bad because I even apologized to Eva and to her mom, because I was like, look, I feel horrible that I'm just sitting in this chair all day. My wife brings me a plate of food, she brings me coffee, I literally don't get up, dude. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so after all of that work, and here I am, and I release this product and it flops. What does my
Wow.
wife think of me? What, and her, um, my mother-in-law knew about, us launching the product and then it flopping, like the people that I was, close to, just letting them know. And it's like, my parents are like, what the heck is this dude doing? Like,
Mm.
trying to build an online business. They didn't see it. And but anyway, moving past that, I released another product. Basically, I took that learning experience. I was like, you know what? Well, maybe I can, I need to work on my being able to write sales copy, get better at that. I told you that's a very important skill for an online business, is being able to write the words on the page that get people to take a specific action.
Yeah.
And so, I just kind of worked on that skill a little bit. We built up another $2,000, $3,000 in our savings account, only for me to feel that pull on my heart to hire another coach and have to tell my wife, we can't move out yet. I have to put this money to hiring this copywriting coach to just to help me get better. Um, so there's another step of faith. I got a lot of, confirmation to do that. I did that. My wife very supportive. But anyway, let's fast forward to September.
Mm.
I release that new product. Next month, I'm able to leave my job because it's bringing in enough money. And I will say that my job was working as a customer service call rep. And I will say that for those of you who are listening, if you have a crappy job that pays nothing, um, it's actually a good position for you to be in if you are um, on this path to being an entrepreneur, creating your own business, because you don't have to replace a huge income. I know a guy who was making $500,000 a year, and he wanted to get out of that business and start his own thing. He had to replace $500,000 of income.
Yeah.
If he
Wow.
was going to be able, because he had a family, he was living the life, so to speak. Um,
Wow. That's a
but
really good point. That's a really good
yeah,
point.
yeah. So no matter where you're at, just know that you're in a good position, even if you don't have a lot. And so I was able to leave my job faster than most people would, because, hey, look, now my fitness business is making $2,500 a month. That replaces my income. Well, that went to uh, going on track for six figures 2 months later.
Wow.
And yeah, and then from there, it is, obviously grown tremendously, into a really cool place. Not just financially, but just like, I mean, I wake up and I feel great about everything, man. I feel great about what I'm doing. I feel like I'm in the exact spot that I'm supposed to be in. And that feeling is something I wouldn't trade for anything, because I know what it's like to wake up and do something I hate and just want to be done and just want to quit. But just pushing through that hard time.
Jeez.
Um, So yeah, so it goes to show, for those who are listening, I want to encourage you that there's a really cool graphic, and I had it saved as a screenshot on my phone. Um, of this, there's these two guys, and you may have seen it. There's these two guys. They have these pickaxes, and they're underground, and they're chopping away at, they're chopping away through. There's these diamonds over on this side, and there's this one guy on top. He's like going crazy. He's like all the way back here, but he's working at it. I mean, he's got it. The diamonds are here, so he's still got a long way to go. There's a guy underneath, and he is about one hit away from getting those diamonds. And he has turned around, his head is down, he's dropped his axe, and he is walking out. And I could have been at that point where I decided enough is enough, I'm done. And I was this close to the diamonds. So the people who are listening who feel discouraged or feel like, man, this has been so long and it's just such a hard road, you are so much closer than you think you are. Just as long as you're taking action every single day toward that thing, you are one hit away, man. You are one hit away. It could be a relationship, a connection that you make at a networking event, or it comes in all these different forms. But I guess to say, because I just want to say with all of those, the building the business on a budget, with those points, and with me stressing on the fact that, yeah, it's not easy, right? I don't want that to discourage anyone to give up. I don't want that to discourage anyone that, oh man, this is going to be really hard. I'm just not even going to, I don't think this is for me. I'm not going to do that. Just if you truly believe in what you want to do and you're really passionate about it, just don't give up, period. That's what I want you to get out of it.
I have to add to that point. Part of this thing that I'm trying to figure out is, what is it about certain types of people that are, that makes them like really have grit and push forward and so on and so forth. What is that thing? And you mentioned, like if you're really passionate about something, don't give up and don't be afraid of the hard work. And I think there's something about the hard work that is so ancient, so almost, I don't know, tribal is the word, so spiritual, so in tune with what we are supposed to be and how we are supposed to be on a daily basis, that you cannot truly feel joy and fulfillment and ultimately peace and happiness at the end of the day without having that snowball to push up the hill, without having that thing, those moments where you're like, man, screw this, man. I am done. Like I'm just taking like something else. I'm decent at that. Like I don't need this in my life, whatever it is. It's those moments, but you have to, like, even bringing it more to an elementary level, you think about like the times when you play a game on the, I don't know, you play a game on your phone and it's just like, oh, this is fun. It's like, you're not fulfilled. It's just like, oh, this is fun to pass the time. Or like you watch something, it's like, wow, it was a really good show. Like I really enjoyed that, but it wasn't like, well, my life is better now. Like I'm proud of myself. To imagine going your entire life without feeling that pride of, is depriving yourself of what I believe is true humanity.
Yeah.
And that is perhaps my goal, my core focus, is helping people at least identify, what is it?
Yeah.
Build a plan and get them started going. Of course, it's their own decision, but if you find it, if you get that fire, if you find that fire, which I think most of us are afraid to even look.
Mm-hmm.
Then that leads to happiness. That is the pursuit of happiness. And the pursuit is really tapping into what makes you the most human. I think that might be the simplest way for me to put what drives me to learn more about people every single day.
Yeah.
I think that is what is missing in so many of us.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And, to your point, I'll say that even when you get to that point, and I know this for me, when you get to that point where Teddy, the wanting less movement is now selling out conferences, you have a team under you, you have all these great things, and you've built something incredible. Even when you could very well walk away at 45 and live however you want to live, for, you have enough because of what you've built, your hard work, your your uh, your wisdom with finances, that has accumulated over 15, 20 years. When when you get to that place, you won't be able to walk away necessarily from doing something,
Right.
from this passion that you have, because again, I would go back and say that if that's the end goal for a lot of people, is to get to a place like, look, I just want to build a business so I can sell it and be done at 50. you know I would say that your why isn't big enough.
Mm.
It's just not big enough for you to push through the struggle of building a business. Anything you build it's going to take hard work, it's going to take struggle. That's what it takes to build something. So it's just one of those things where you're going to get to that point, and it brings fulfillment, like what you were saying. There's just something fulfilling about putting in that work. And so when that time does come and that freedom is there, I know for me, when that freedom is there, um, I'm still going to be, I might be working on new things, I might be building new things, but
Mhm.
I'm always going to be a builder, always going to be a builder.
Yeah, it's like how do you take that out of you? Like how do you take that
Can't.
component, yeah, and just shut it
I
off?
mean,
That doesn't make sense.
and if you do, you'll likely be depressed. You'll likely feel some sort of way. You'll likely lose some self confidence, lose just uh, because. And I'm not saying, like, I'm not a huge with Gary V, where it's like work, 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 grind, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there is something fulfilling, and even a law, almost like a universal law. Like, when I read through the Bible, I see these things that it's like, look, that is a universal type of a thing that has
Yeah.
been put in place. So whatever your belief is, there's universal things that are in place. And I believe that that's one of those things where work is a good thing, and it produces good fruit in your life. I don't know when work does not produce good fruit in someone's life. I just don't know. But I do know
Yeah.
that when you don't work, you get lazy or you get bored, and that starts causing you to probably pick up habits that you don't want to pick up.
Yep.
This fitness is a very, very easy example. When you stop working out, you're just when me, like, I love working out, but I've had times where I'm like, oh, I can't go to the gym, this, that. And I start getting a little depressed. I'm like, man, I haven't been in the gym. Like, I'm actually eating more unhealthy.
Yeah.
Usually you think like you work out, so you like eat more unhealthy because you burn the calories, but it's actually opposite. When you work out, you actually want to make smarter decisions because you
Yeah.
feel good about yourself. But if you're not working out, you're like, oh man, I feel like crap. I'm already blowing it. Give me the piece of cake, donuts, and this and that. So, there's just something very real about what you said, and just making that connection there.
I appreciate you saying that. It's the toiling in the fields, right? That whole like kind of, I don't know. It's just it unlocks something within you, and I don't want people to think I'm being overly simplistic here, or you are being overly simplistic here by saying like, yeah, okay, like hard work, I get it, but like there is something more to it that is hard to explain, and I don't know, maybe I'm beating a dead horse, but I mentioned this before in another episode, one of my monologue episodes. I spoke with a cousin of mine, and he's in IT, and he was talking about like, hey, do you ever think about like making an automated budget tool and that sort of thing, and as opposed to the one that I've kind of like finagled together in my spare time or whatever, that is a spreadsheet. And as I thought about it, I don't have the capacity to do it personally, but I thought about that as a long-term goal. And then I thought, I don't know if I want to do that
Mhm.
because imagine, okay, so there are budgeting tools out there. They're automated, such as like mint.com. I wouldn't suggest anybody uses it because it's a product of Credit Karma, which uses your data and sells it to people.
Mm.
But I learned that after downloading it, for the record. But then Dave Ramsey has a similar one. It connects to your bank account, it automates things for you, whatever it may be. And there's some work that you have to do to put into that. But I'm not necessarily plugging my spreadsheet, but I'm plugging the idea of a written budget, a written plan, a
Mm.
written workout plan, or whatever it may be, that you have to put some work into in some capacity to piece together. And then you have to manage it afterwards as well. I could be way off about this, but again, it's going back into the me 2 years ago when I was at literally rock bottom and I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't even know how I'm going to pay my bills. I'm in a relationship that's ending, it's crumbling to the ground, and I can't even live on my own. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Mm.
So I pieced together, out of almost desperation, I pieced together this spreadsheet that made sense for me from like where I am today to see where I will be in the future. And like psychologically speaking, it all made sense. But what I think is more effective than anything else is you have to manage that thing every day, every week. You have to put in the numbers. You have to see what's coming in, what's going out, and you
Mhm.
have to make decisions on it to realize the reality that you are living in instead of just plugging in, letting an automated service do the work for you. That sucks. And then moving on from there. There's something about doing it with your hands. There's something about
Mhm.
changing things and feeling that pain that changes you, that molds you. And that's
Absolutely.
that's my soapbox, and I'm stepping off of it now.
No, man, I totally agree with you there. I mean, obviously, we see eye to eye on a lot of things, and um, I mean, when it comes to work and finances, budgeting, all these things are all fantastic topics. And this is why when you started wanting less, I've listened to several episodes, and I was just really excited about the mission of what you're doing here. And I was even more excited after hearing just catching up with you last time we spoke and just seeing okay where this is really going. And it's really awesome. So yeah, man. So I hope that what I shared today was able to provide some sort of value to, and I feel like people are more inspired now than ever to start doing their own thing, or at least finding it.
Yeah.
And starting that path of finding it. What I will say, if you are on the path of finding it, throw your whole self at it. Um, because I did not start as someone who wanted to make money as a fitness professional online. That's not how things started. It started with me wanting to start a gym and starting to buy a little bit of equipment for that, and then realizing, oh, this isn't going to work. And then going to a different model, and then going to this boot camp thing. But the one thing that was consistent is I threw my whole self at it.
You committed time and effort every single day.
Absolutely. So find that thing, throw your whole self at it, and I promise you, if it is not the thing, this is from a quote from TD Jakes. If it's not the thing, it will be the thing that leads to the thing. Okay, that might be the thing. Okay, so
Nice.
with wanting less, I believe this is the thing for you. But even if it's not,
Appreciate it.
it's going to be the thing that's going to lead to the thing. Okay, so just keep going 100%, man, at it, and I'm here to support you all the way.
I appreciate that. I wanted to finish this out with you very
Yeah.
much. So again, I appreciate that. What's next for you? What's the next few years hold?
Well, so my entire focus right now is building the fitness business. We want to impact more lives. The goal is to be able to impact 1 million lives. So obviously we have a long way to go with impacting 50,000 people up until this point as customers. Don't get me wrong. We have tons of free content out there that, we have over 13 million views total on our YouTube channel. So,
Jeez.
we're doing that, but we want to make, we know that people who buy our programs are going to more likely follow them and get the results. And so that's what, so our goal is to be able to help a million men. Then from there, I'll let you know that that's kind of my focus now. However, I do see that maybe later in the second half of this decade, maybe, to be honest, I couldn't quite pinpoint when it is, but I know that I will likely start building a personal type of a platform where I can, make more of an impact. Right now I'm helping men. I'm behind the scenes and doing those things. I'm super happy and focused on that. But I do know that there are some things on my heart. I've mentioned to you on our last call. I have journals, 3 journals filled to the ends of the books, and I'm still writing in them today. And there's more stuff to add of just my own spiritual journey as an entrepreneur. And just, it's amazing to see things like I would write certain prayer requests and things like that, just needing direction, man. For me personally, I'm one of those guys who's, God is CEO and I'm the guy underneath. I'm the steward of the things that I've been given. And, I know that's kind of a hard concept for some people to understand, because they're like, Joe, what are you talking about? You just said how hard you worked to get here. I know it doesn't make sense, but you also didn't see the thousands of hours that I've spent in the prayer closet and the hundreds of mistakes that I was on the path of making, that I received confirmations and things that led me back right where I'm supposed to be, which is where I am now. So I do want to write books and start a podcast like you, Teddy. Maybe
Yeah.
when you have your millions of followers and in 5 years, maybe I'll be hitting you up for a little bit of coaching, a little bit of help. So that's where I see myself going. But for right now, that is something that is in my sights. It's kind of something that's on the shelf. And I'm not taking it down from the shelf any earlier than it needs to be taken down. So I'm just focused on helping our men right now with our company.
That's perfect. That's wonderful. I spoke with somebody by the name of Dr. Cooper. I cite her a lot in the show, but she has just gems, man, just gems on the show. But like we were talking about, what do people need to be doing on during COVID and staying home and everything. And she says, I don't know if anybody needs to be doing anything at all. She said, if you want to turn your life around a 180, ask yourself, what do you want to do? Because need only brings shame and guilt, and want brings passion and purpose. And I was like, that's a really good point. So it's something I should have known in the show, but she made a really solid point. It's really stuck with me since. But I have no doubt that you'll get there. See, you already have the roadmap, and you've already built the engine that got you to where you are today. And that engine can get you to the next thing and the next thing. And that you've proved that to yourself. It's not like you think, do I have it in me? No, you do. You've seen it. You are there. You know what I'm saying? So, the great thing about climbing the mountain is that you can see the other lower valleys, and you can see everything much more clearly from a distance, and what else you're going to conquer after the fact. So I just made that up on the spot. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's good, man.
Yeah.
You should have put that in one of those Facebook thumbnails. I won't make fun of that one as much as the one with the entrepreneur jumping out of a plane.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really funny one. But Joe, it's been awesome having you. How can people get in contact with you if they want to reach out, understand the business a little bit more, and maybe take part in what you do?
Yeah. What I'll do is I will give you my personal email address that you can just pop in the show notes. So if anyone who, I don't have an Instagram. I have my personal Facebook page, but for me, social media has been more of a distraction. And that's why I'm glad that I have the team that I do, because I don't have to be on the Instagram and YouTube and stuff. But
Be on
I will,
Instagram.
yeah. See, that's exactly, how much I'm missing out on the whole social media
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, you're
Uh,
definitely mature for your age, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Called it the Instagram.
But yeah, so what I will do is I will leave my email address. I'll send it to you, Teddy. You can put in the show notes. So if anyone does have any questions or just want to reach out, they absolutely can. I'll definitely get back to you. And I would just again, I just want to encourage the people who are listening, just say that find that thing you're passionate about. Don't quit, no matter how hard it gets, and eventually you'll get to your destination. And again, if it's not the thing, it doesn't mean give up. It's just going to be the thing that leads to the thing. Just keep throwing your whole self at it.
Solid, man. This has been awesome, like beyond.
Awesome, man. Well, I love it, man. I feel like I'm just catching up with a buddy.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. We should make
Yeah,
these more often. So,
yeah, for
um,
sure.
dude, I'll let you go. You have a great night. Give my best to your fam, and we'll talk very soon.
Awesome. You too, Teddy. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for your
See ya.
time. Later.